Hey everyone, this is Philip with TDR Auto. Today we're gonna be changing the injector and the connector for the injector. She's running a little bit rough. And we got P020C cylinder number 3 injection timing. So I already took the valve cover off and I already checked the wiring for the injectors. The injectors, they have little screws, little nuts with the wiring, and sometimes they can get loose. But nothing was loose on this one, and I don't see any other problems, so we're gonna go ahead and replace the injector. Now these injectors are quite expensive, and they have a core, so we gotta return them. And if I lose one of these plastics, they may not take the return, so I gotta make sure I don't lose it. I gotta make sure it's got that sealing washer here, and also with the injector we gotta replace the connector for the injector. You can see this injector has a hole on the side, and the connector connects in it just like this, and the high pressure line screws on the end of the connector. So this is what goes through the cylinder head. That's how the fuel, the diesel fuel, get into the injector. The connector comes with a nut that secures it to the cylinder head. So I should have everything I need. So I already took that little cover that's secured by 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts. You gotta take the dipstick off for the cover to come off, then put it back in. It's 8mm. The studded nuts are on this side for the wire harness. There's one more in the corner there that I already took off. Oil cap has to come off. Now this can be taken off, but first we gotta take the wiring off. Like I said, I already had this apart. So for the green one, see that you gotta press this tab off with a little screwdriver probably, and then you can press this button to slide it out. Sometimes they have little like another security tabs that you can just break off, take them off and throw them away. They just put them from the factory. This one you lift down, and then you can press and undo. So now we can take this out of the way. Now we take the CCV filter off. Crankcase breather should be changed every, I believe it's 67,500 miles. I'll move this wire harness out of the way, disconnect this little sensor here. This is also a nice tool for the clips. I use it for little vacuum hoses too. There's a little breather hose on the side of the valve cover that I'm gonna pop out just like that. There's another one over here. I'm gonna disconnect. There's a one wire loom here and other here for the valve cover, because the wiring goes through the valve cover gasket. So I gotta press the tab again. There we go, that's one. Now I can get the hose off. There. Now I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10mm bolts. So I'm gonna get my long ratchet with a 10mm short. It's a 1/4 inch. Nice low profile. That makes it a little easier. That's one. And I'm gonna take them all the way out. So it's easier to slide the valve cover out so it doesn't get caught up on something. All right. 3, 4, 5, 6. Now the valve cover will easily slide out. Oh, and because I already had it apart, sometimes the valve cover gasket might get stuck on the valve cover, so you gotta be carefully get it unstuck and slide the cover out. Now I get a small 1/4 inch ratchet with a deep 8mm socket and just undo all these wiring. So this will be number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm gonna have to replace the number 3, which I'm really happy about because usually it's the one all the way in the back, right? The one that you need to do. Thankfully not this time. I got lucky. This will make it a lot easier. Because imagine getting these high pressure lines all the way from back there. It's not fun. Also, you want to make sure we got disconnected batteries, and just in case disconnect the connectors before you touching any of these wires. I mean, there's no power going into them anyway, but it's better be safe than sorry. If you're not sure how the wires go back in, just take a picture and put everything the same way back in. Actually, when I was taking these little nuts with the wires off, I noticed they were like really tight. And these little nuts, they have a torque only like 4 Newton meters. And that's very, very little. And these were like really, really tight. So I think what happened, someone was in here already and someone over tied it. And I think that's how the damage got to the injector. Now the last one. It's nice to have a higher step. All right, I got all of them out. Now we can take the gasket out. Well, I still gotta disconnect the last wire. All right. Now we can very carefully lift it, because this gasket, you can imagine, it's gonna be some change when the wiring is integrated into it. All right, I'm gonna suck some oil out so I don't get dirty as much. I'll get all the nasty oil out. So this is what I'm using to suck any fluids out. It's a nice vacuum pump. I think it holds about 4 or 5 quarts. Just if you're thinking about getting one, get it without the handle. With this one, you basically don't need the airline because you can pump pressure into it and then you can use it without the hose. But as you can see, it's very fragile, the handle, and it broke right away. So if you can, get it without it. Or if you have a nice safe place to store it, you can get the one with the handle. If you're gonna be more careful than I am, it might work for you. All right, so we got 10mm bolts. What's nice about these newer Cummins, I think it's 2020 or 2019 and up, they don't have adjusters anymore, so you don't have to adjust the valves on these Cummins anymore. All the way up to 2018 they came with little nuts adjusters, and you had to adjust your valve train every, I'm not sure, 80,000 miles or whatever. So that's gone with these newer generation Cummins. I mean, hopefully it's going to be reliable, since it's got the hydraulic adjusters now. So you want to put everything the same way you take it out. The lifters, the rods, we can leave in there, but this we gotta take off. I'll put it back there, take it as a whole assembly. I'm gonna put this guy over here, and this guy goes here. All right, now it's the time we disconnect the high pressure line. You don't have to worry, there's no pressure. The pressure's there only when the car is running, when the high pressure pump runs. All right, so that's 19. Also, a thing I like about Cummins is that those pressure lines, you can reuse them. If you have those Eco Diesels 3.0s, every time you loosen up these nuts on the high pressure lines, you gotta get a new lines. One-time use. I like that you don't need any special tools so far to remove these lines. Everything's pretty easy. Okay, now I gotta remove the high pressure connector. See that connector nut? Right over there. You cannot fit a 1/2 inch 24mm socket and a ratchet there. I can't even fit a 24mm wrench. And I finally found a nice socket, 24mm 3/8 drive from oil filter. One of the loop techs here had a nice oil filter removal set, and this was in there, so I got lucky. I'm gonna have to buy that set for myself. Even for the 3.6 oil filters on some cars like ProMasters and Caravans is a little hard to take off, and this kind of socket will make it a lot easier because it's low profile and it's just easier to work with. So yeah, I got plenty of room there still, so that's really nice. So just loose that up. Take that out all the way. There we go. So like I said, I got a new one. The new connector comes with a new nut. Okay, now I can take these two 8mm bolts, 1 and 2. Alright, now we're gonna need a bunch of tools. So the first one is to remove the connector, the little pipe. This one over here. Miller makes it, and the part number is 9015. See, it's got a little lip here. You can use your small pry bar or some screwdrivers or even pliers and just pull the whole thing out. It doesn't take much to pull it out. It basically just holds on this O-ring. And the second tool is for the injector itself. And the part number is 90108. So 9010. Screw it all the way in, and let's see if I can do it with my fingers. Oh yeah, I actually was able. So you can see it doesn't take much. So if you don't have this tool, maybe you can find a nut that fits this thread on the connector and do it that way. Now because of the rail, I don't have a room to take it off. So I gotta take that tool off from there. Let's see if I do it that way. Yes, good. Yeah, I'm not sure why you need to replace it, but the service procedure says you need to replace it. So that's what I'm gonna do. I forgot to mention that injector remover also comes with this special bolt, and basically we need to remove this bolt and mount this guy instead that bolt, so we got something to leverage against. So that's a 10mm. Slide this guy in. All right, slide this. Okay, this ring goes there. Just like that, and you just push up and injector's out. Very easy with the right tools. Of course, you can get away with maybe doing pry bars. If you get a couple smaller pry bars and pry on the lip from each side somehow, just gotta be careful not to damage anything. It might work. As you could see, I didn't put too much power into it, so the injector is not that hard to remove. That's probably because it sits inside the engine, so no water or rust will ever get to it. Okay, I got the new injector. So you're gonna make sure this, if you, for whatever reason, if you're reusing the injector, you gotta replace the O-ring and the sealing washer. If you're reusing the injector, you can actually reuse the connector. All right, this connector you can actually reuse if it's okay, if it doesn't have any restriction inside of it. With the new injector, you gotta get a new connector. I gotta make sure I got this hole lined up with the connector, so it can only go one way. And I put some fresh diesel oil on the O-ring, so it will go easier in. Yeah, make sure it's all the way in. Then we can put back this guy it goes only one way. See this groove inside? That's gonna line up with the pin that's on the side of the injector. There. Now the service information says do first tightening sequence or preliminary sequence is 2 Newton meters on these 8mm bolts. So that's very little. I'm gonna bring my torque wrench. Now these 1/4-inch torque wrenches, they can be quite expensive. So I actually bought this 1/4-inch torque wrench. This is actually made for bikes. So it goes from 1 Newton meter to 22 Newton meters, or 24. 1 to 24 Newton meters. So that's perfect. I gotta use 2 Newton meters on this one. So I gotta go to somewhere there. And we gotta make sure we torque these evenly. So I go a little bit and then I go on the other side, go a little bit. It doesn't have a flat surface. So we both want them to be even. All right, that already clicked. This one too. We're gonna put a connector in. I got the new nut too, ready. And again, this guy goes only one way. You can see it's got this pin or whatever that is. All right, now it's slide in, and so the pin over here, it's got to be on top. Slide in. Let's see if I can. There you go. Pushed in quite easily. All right, now before I tie the connector nut, I gotta loosen these up. Again, 1/4 at a time. Good. We just lose them, we leave them in place. And now we can torque, do preliminary torque on the connector nut, which is 11 pounds. So you need a 3/8 torque wrench. Oh, there it is. Need my 24mm socket or oil filter wrench. And we're gonna torque it to 11 pounds. There. Good. Basically, we're trying to get a proper sealing connection between the injector and the connector. It's quite crucial, so that's why we gotta do this kind of procedure to make sure it's gonna be good fit and it's gonna seat really good. So now we can torque these 2 little nuts to 8 Newton meters. So first was 2 Newton meters, then lose it, and after tightening the connector nut to 11 pounds, we're gonna do 8 Newton meters on the injector hold down bolts. All right, I got 8. So again, I'm gonna do 1/4 at a time. Make sure I'm torquing it evenly on both sides. There, that's 1, 2, all right. And I guess now we're gonna do final torque on the connector. The final torque for the fuel injector connector nut is 41 pounds. Now I must not forget to put the bolt back in. I'm gonna put the bridge back in. I guess I could have just left them there. They're not in the way of the injector, but for the video purpose, more room so you can see a little better. Okay. Okay, I gotta make sure the rocker arm has a good fit. And this bolt is 24 Newton meters. 24 foot-pounds. And these, they have a sequence again, so we gotta start with 7 Newton meters. I got 8, so I just go 6, between 6 and 8. So basically just, they want you to tighten it just a little bit. So basically until the spring compresses. All right. Now I'm supposed to wait 10 or 15 minutes so the oil can bleed out, and then I can do final torque. All right, so final torque, 27 pounds. Now I can put back the valve cover gasket. Or actually, before I put the valve cover gasket, I'm gonna put back the fuel tube. Okay, now to torque the fuel tube, it's 33 pounds. So I'm using a crow's foot little wrench that hooks up into my torque wrench. And now I'll be able to torque the fuel tube round. A little easier said than done. Okay, let's try this way. Okay, this will work. Okay, that's nasty. All right, now back with the gasket. Just start all the wiring by hand. Be careful not to cross thread the nuts, because if you make one little mistake, cross thread it, over tight it, then you're basically screwed. You're gonna need new gasket and new injector. There are no other repairs than that. So this is where you need to be patient and take your time. Do it right. Just hand tight all of them. Yeah, make sure you have a longer socket, because you don't want to drop the short socket in there. The fuel injector harness nuts need ridiculous 1.5 Newton meter torque. That's like nothing. All right, let's try 1.5. That's all it takes. So you need really good 1/4 inch torque wrench for that. If I'd be doing these jobs every day, I would probably invest money in a digital 1/4 inch torque wrench. But from Metco and Snap-on, you're talking about at least $300 for that. So I just cannot swing that right now. Okay, now the valve cover. If you had it out for a while, make sure everything is clean. You don't have any dust and dirt inside. Okay, that looks good. I'm gonna plug in the harness. Oh shit. Now the CCV filter. Now the breather cover. The studs go, one goes here. Sweet, thank you. Other goes here. Oh, there's a third one. That one goes in the back here. Okay, so miscellaneous functions and reset injector compensation values. This function is used to reset the injector offset values following injector replacement. So this needs to be done. Select injectors to reset. 1, 2, 3. So 3 only. Number 3 injector. Resetting injector. Alright, so that's done. And I believe that should be all we have to do. There's no programming of injectors on Cummins. The injectors are based on the year, on the VIN number, and you're all set. So that's nice. You don't have to program the new injectors in, unlike on eco diesels and other diesels. So now we're gonna start it up and check for leaks. Sure there are no leaks. No noises. It's pretty important to follow the procedure for torquing the rocker arms. Like I said, you need to torque it to what's it, like 7 pounds, very little. Wait 10-15 minutes to bleed down the rocker arms. And then torque it to the 33 or whatever that was, to the final torque. And then before you start the truck, you need to wait like 40 minutes to bleed, for the final bleed of the rocker arms. So I waited about 50 minutes before I started up, and everything looks good. So now I just gotta do a test drive, make sure she's driving fine, and no codes. So this truck only had like 20,000 miles, so it was covered under warranty. This is actually the first time I was replacing injector with this kind of mileage. So yeah, I was pretty surprised. I never heard about Cummins engine with this kind of mileage having a bad injector. It looks like somebody was in there, unless from the factory they over tightened the nuts, the harness. Not sure. Either someone was there or it was over tightened from the factory. So 1.5 newton meters. That's just so little torque. And when I was losing the nuts to make sure it wasn't over torqued, like I said, I had to put quite a bit of force to get it loose. So that thing was way over. I would think it would be more than 15 newton meters. So quite a bit more than 1.5 newton meter. But anyway, I put on the truck about 10 miles. Everything smooth, idle is smooth. Before you had kind of rough idle. So I'm gonna have one of the porters put on some more miles on it, just to be safe.